Hey, Space Watchers, and welcome back. We're here in Munich at the Munich Security Conference, and I do have the great honor to speak again with Declan Ganley from Rivada, the CEO of Rivada. Declan, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Good.
How important is the Munich Security Conference for the global economy, for the global system, from your point of view?
Well, it's a scene setter, and it helps, I suppose, shed a limelight on the reality of where we are rather than where we might like to think we are. And I think back years ago, I can't remember what year it was, but when Vladimir Putin was here and he made that speech that's now famous. Yeah. And it was, in hindsight, it was a clear demarcation line, a reset of the relationship of the Russian Federation with the West. I think we have seen an perhaps equally significant, though very different message, but an equally significant demarcation that happened at the Munich Security Conference this year. So, look, the venue can happen anywhere. The fact is that you have a concentration of very powerful people, people that are running the world, or not all of them, but some of them, here at Munich, and important things get said, and the audience is here to listen to that, to those messages. And I think what's interesting in observing the people that are in the room is watching how that message is received in real time.
Absolutely.
Does it, bring a standing ovation, or does it go down like the proverbial lead balloon? It doesn't take away from the importance of the information. Sometimes if it goes down like a lead balloon, maybe that's a message that needed to be heard, even though it's bitter medicine. So that's the importance of the Munich Security Conference.
I see your point. Over the last years, we saw the vulnerability of sea cables, just to take one example, with a number of cable cut accidents that happened. So how do you see that from a Rivada point of view? Because offering service from space must be, we could do that better. So, but how would you judge that?
Well, this is something that's very pertinent to what's being discussed here at the Munich Security Conference, and the events, which in some ways are as important, or perhaps even more important than the conference itself, is the side discussions that take place. But the attacks on subsea cables, and I won't call them accidents, we have seen a targeting of subsea cables both in Europe and in the Pacific that I believe are, and this is my opinion, I think that they're more than an exercise. This is a real-time set of, I believe, grey zone attacks, what we were calling in parts of eastern Ukraine the actions of the little green men before we actually saw the full invasion. So you're seeing these subsea cable cuts, and a lot can be gleaned from those events when they take place. So, for example, I expect what is happening is that certain actors are observing what the response times are, who responds, what ships, what people, who sends an email, who gets the message, who gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning to take care of it, how long does it take to do that repair, where do the supplies come from to make the repair. So all of that stuff is being mapped real time for when the main event, should it happen, for when the main event happens. And the main event is going to trigger a collapse of the internet. And why would somebody do that? Well, they would do that to be able to deny the capabilities that internet connectivity would deliver to a potential adversary of that actor, be it, and I'll name names, be it Communist China, be it Vladimir Putin's Russia, whatever it might be. And so the OuterNet and what Rivada is working on is important insofar as that it can provide a survivable pipe for data in the event that all the subsea cable capabilities are degraded, or maybe even completely eliminated in some parts of the world. There are less than 550 subsea cables on the whole planet.
Oh, wow.
Less. So the cost of dragging anchors or otherwise preparing to sabotage those cables, everybody knows where they are. You can, I mean, your viewers can Google it. It's not a secret. And nor is it a secret how to break it. And in fact, we saw there was a Chinese patent filed a few weeks ago, which was just a taunt, which showed a tanker or a merchant ship just dragging a special anchor that would snap subsea cables, and that this is just sort of in-your-face kind of threats. And then we've seen in real time those cables get cut. So the OuterNet and having an alternative data path is vital, and that data path has to not be reliant on the ground gateways that other satellite constellations rely on. Understandably, you have bent pipe constellation designs, and they work very well for broadband consumer data, but in the case of a critical moment like subsea cable cuts, that stuff's not going to work.
I see. You have a very prominent client, the US Naval, that you announced end of last year. Tell us a bit more about your collaboration and this contract.
The Navy, the US Navy, is a very sophisticated customer. They have certain needs for their own communications capabilities, and they identified what we were doing as something that had unique interest that matches with some of their needs. And you know, we are also talking to other governments. I mean, Rivada Space Networks is headquartered right here in Munich, in Germany. I'll say this for the U.S. Navy and for the U.S., for the Americans. They don't act swiftly, but they act a hell of a lot faster than everybody else. And so, again, another message from the Munich Security Conference and the Secretary General of NATO, Ruth, delivering that message that Europe really needs to improve its act. I mean, the decision-making process here, we're asleep at the wheel, and the capabilities show it. And if Europe could be a bit more like the US Navy, I think we'd all be in a better place.
Let's talk about your next milestones in Rivada. So, where do we stand? I mean, the launch is coming closer. So, satellites potentially have their PDRs, or they might be even in production. So, that's all on a good way.
Yes. No, we're very happy. We're getting into a point where it's getting very competitively sensitive. For a lot of reasons.
That's why I asked this question so broadly.
No, sure. And it's not a secret that Rivada has been a very focused target of litigation, and litigation that I believe has been designed to try and harm us, delay us, stop us, etc., and it has not succeeded. So we are very happy with where we are from a schedule standpoint. We have we've identified, I can say this because we have said this publicly, we just actually we have now signed MOUs. These are not contracts, but they're memorandums of understanding with details like pricing, capacity projection, that kind of thing, to a total value now of $14.999 billion. So $1 million shy of 15 billion. I think we'll cross that threshold next week sometime, but it's $15 billion of demand that's out there. So we know the demand is there. We know who the customers are. We know who wants this capability.
I see.
And in terms of, and we are staying in very close contact with key customers about the launch schedule, testing, so on and so forth. So we're in good shape. And we've also greatly expanded the team. at Rivada added, well, I shouldn't start naming them all because I feel like I'll leave some out, but you can check out the Rivada website. Right. We've added a lot to this team in the last 12 months.
Let's conclude with some more learnings from Munich. What will be your takeaways from the Munich Security Conference?
I think that there is, and I welcome this, there is a greatly improved focus on the urgency that people have been resting on their laurels. Europeans have been resting on their laurels for a very, very long time. The message was harsh in its delivery, and I believe that was very intentional. Because in fact, if you look at sort of the macro security economic message, and you sort of you get out of the little sort of the dressing, I will call it, that macro message from the United States, which has been, Europe, you need to stand up, you need to increase your budgets, you need to be much more proactive in your own security, because there is a shift to the Pacific. Obama talked about it. This has been on the agenda for 20 years. And it's like, everyone was like, oh yeah, but it's like, we didn't think it was gonna really happen. So now, it's sort of like when your mom comes and told when you're sort of 7 or 8 years old, we were all there, and tells you to clean your room the first 4 or 5 times, and you go, yeah, I'll get to it. And then she comes and she clips you across the ear, and she says, I told you to clean your room, you didn't do it. And you know, message received. It was delivered in a very stark way. And I think, you know, let me say this about Europe and where we are, and the Pacific. We need the United States to be, Europe needs the United States to be highly capable in the Pacific. A shift to the Pacific is actually a good thing for the democratic world. We in Europe, we need to step up and be able to provide capabilities that are effective. Not just spend money. This isn't about spending money. This is about spending money smart.
Absolutely.
We mustn't invest in the technologies for the event before the last event. We need to build capabilities for what's going to come next.
Absolutely.
And by doing that, you actually ensure the peace, you ensure security, you ensure economic growth, and I think that the OuterNet is going to be a very important tool in being able to provide the kind of resilience, the kind of security capability that all of our economies need, both in Europe and the United States, in the European theatre and in the Pacific theatre.
Declan, thank you very much for your time. And with that, Space Watch out.